Hello, friends, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Happy Half Hour Training Camp Special Edition. And since all the other cool kids are doing a podcast with Taylor, we figured we'd do one too. Say hello to Taylor Moten, everybody.
You know, Taylor's going on the podcast circuit and breaking news. I wonder what kind of news Taylor Moten would break on the Happy Half Hour.
I don't know. I would like to hear him sing. Taylor Moten's a lovely man.
You know, we used Taylor before last time an album came out, too. I think it was Tortured Poets Department, Taylor Moten's version, or Tortured Lineman's Department. That's what it was.
Are you suggesting that I would beat a joke into the ground? What?
No, I'm saying he's a great fodder for Taylor jokes. We're glad that he is here for us, and for many reasons, but especially this one.
And by the way, I can always count, when it's time to do arts and crafts, I can always count on Kassidy having supplies. And yes, as a matter of fact, don't tell my mom, and I hope she's not watching this episode, I ran with scissors so I could make this before we recorded this podcast. So these are the things we bring you. We're doing a podcast with Taylor. Congratulations,
you know what, Darin?
Everybody.
And I just thought about something, too. Taylor loves her Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And she put a bunch in the background of the podcast tees. And we know, who else do we know that loves to put stuff in the back of a podcast?
You mean like
background?
the shelf of fame back here?
Yeah. We're going to start hiding Easter egg teases back there, too.
We have some items that may still come to the shelf of fame. I'm sure all the other people.
Thanks for coming, Taylor.
Yeah, I think all the other people who use this studio sure appreciate me junking up the place. So anyway, it's kind of like my basement at home. Hi, honey. At any rate, football, we should talk about football. Since we're doing a podcast with Taylor, it only seems right that we lead off by talking about offensive line stuff. And
as Taylor would want. Which Taylor, we don't know.
That's right. And yet another look up front with Damian Lewis out with that shoulder for a little bit. You know, yesterday the center competition got settled. It's officially Austin Corbett and Cade Mays. Congratulations, you're now a left guard. So Cade was out there running around with the ones today in the Damian Lewis spot, and that just kind of underscores sort of the point of this offseason, which is you bring your top 9 guys back for instances like this. You know, they started J.T. Carter the other night against the Browns. He's a guy they've got familiarity with, was on the practice squad all year long, but Cade's got experience playing with these guys and starting with these guys. You know, those 8 games he played down the stretch at center when the offense was really playing at its best means he can jump right in, and it shouldn't be that much of a drop. I mean, there's a drop-off because Damian Lewis, this just in, real good at football.
Yeah.
And nothing against Cade Mays, but Damian was that guy for a reason. But Cade is the kind of backup who you can plug in any of those 3 positions in the middle and feel like you can keep going.
It's a luxury to have for sure, especially for a team that is going to run the ball as much as they plan to, and have continued to do so even in practice. Man, it is fun. We know largely what we're going to get with Chuba Hubbard, and that's not to diminish at all what he does because it is very impressive. It has been fun to watch Rico Dowdle in practice. He just finds a way to break through, and he sees the field so well. He sees his lanes. He sees them. This sounds so cliche football talk, but like he sees his lanes before they even develop.
Yeah, and it's good having those contrasting styles. I mean, Chuba should be bigger. I mean, Chuba reminds me so much of Stephen Davis in the way that he runs because he's big and he runs physical, but he still has that sprinter speed. I mean, Stephen Davis was a South Carolina State sprint champion who outran a guy named Tim Montgomery, who was once the fastest man in the world.
Okay. Learned something new.
Chuba was a track star growing up. You know, he was probably the fastest Canadian running back of them all. But he runs physically. I mean, he's a between-the-tackles guy, and Rico gives you such a different element out on the edges. I mean, we've seen him, you know, they've done stuff with him that I'm sure Dave Canales is eager to unveil once the regular season starts. But we've seen stuff in practice where it's like, oh, that's neat. And I just think having Rico and having that extra layer to the backfield gives him so many more options.
I will give Chuba his credit for today for something that happened. They were in red zone drill, and Chuba gets the handoff. He goes up the middle. Lathan Ransom got to him at such a speed and in such a way that it would have been a tackle in a game. But, of course, in practice, they can't fully wrap up. And so Chuba kept going. He runs into the end zone and then turns around and taunts Ransom about it all the way back to the line.
Yeah.
Like, you thought you got me, but yeah.
Even when Jaycee Horn's not on the field, they're still taunting between the offense and the defense, as there will be. Hey, speaking of Jaycee, I mean, Jaycee came out and talked to us a little bit today. He's been out of practice since the car crash last Wednesday morning. Yeah, that's right. Hey, I'm remembering what day of the week it is all of a sudden. That was a week ago almost. And Jaycee's, we'll see when we get down to Houston in a couple of days whether he's able to practice. I don't know that he will, just because he did have stitches in that left thumb over here that the airbag caught. So the thing about Jaycee is, and he talked today a lot about, as he's gotten older in the game, he's staying involved differently. He's always, one of the things I think is interesting about him, and it's not just today, like during OTAs, if there was a day he was getting a vet day or something, instead of standing on the defensive sideline, a lot of times he'd be over there with the offense. And he'd be like standing behind Bryce and Thielen and the gang, just kind of absorbing what they were doing. He said today, part of what I'm doing is trying to get that mental rep and figure out what they're doing based on alignment, based on splits, based on movement, and different things he sees before the play. He's over there almost coaching it up, trying to predict what's happening.
Brad Idzik, offensive coordinator, even said today that sometimes they'll do that, because they'll stand next to each other because Brad likes to pick Jaycee and Mike's brain just as much as they're liking to pick his. And he said, sometimes they'll send somebody out there and Brad will be like, okay, we've got them doubled here, Jaycee. Like, what would you do? Or what are we going to run? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. So they're testing each other during that time. We know Jaycee's physical. We know he's athletic. But those mental reps are what's going to make someone good, great, better, right, and have a long career.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing about Jaycee Horn. Things we knew the day he was drafted. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's physical. Things we've learned since then, he's willing to put in a lot of time to be good at this, and he cares an awful lot about it. I think this sounds corny when people say it, but football matters to this guy in a way it does not to everybody. And that's not to demean any other player on the roster, but when you've been through what Jaycee Horn's been through in his young career already and dealing with some of the injuries early on, not having it, and then being able to be out there on the field for most of the season last year, get that Pro Bowl recognition that he deserved, you can tell that he kind of walks in here this year with a difference because he understands it's on him to be that level of player A, and it's on him, too, to be a leader around here for a young bunch of people.
And he is doing it well, and they're starting to mimic him. There was a moment today where Pat Jones was in coverage against Rico Dowdle, and locked him up to the point. I mean, the play was on the opposite side of the field, but the play, Pat Jones was in front of the defensive sideline, so the defense let Rico hear it. And when he locked him up, he did the seatbelt, and kind of strapped it in. Jaycee said afterwards, anybody can use the seatbelt as long as they're strapping their guy up.
That's right, and always use your seatbelt.
Always use your seatbelt, kids.
Yeah, and I'm
glad.
Which
saved him last week.
Yeah, but you do wear a seatbelt, right?
Yes, I wear a seatbelt.
Okay, well, you sometimes watch videos while you're driving, and you don't wear a
I feel
helmet
comfortable
while
doing
you're
that
on a
because
bicycle.
I have a seatbelt on.
Oh, that's dad mode engaged. You know who else thinks that's a terrible idea? Taylor Moton thinks that's a terrible idea. And since this is a podcast with Taylor, yeah, we want to make sure that everybody's safe and everybody's taken care of. So stop doing that. It's dangerous.
You're going to get me like a ticket by proxy. I'm going to get a ticket in the mail. We probably know you're doing this.
And if it teaches you to stop your bad behavior, maybe it'll be worth it.
You call it bad behavior. I call it creativity and ingenuity.
You're the reason I don't like driving anymore. So anyway, it's another day at Panthers training camp, which means it's yet another day of the wide receiver making a play of the day. I literally wrote down in my notes for this podcast, this is how well planned out it is. So many wide receivers.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of a theme of this camp as much as anything. And today was another Jimmy Horn day.
Today was another Jimmy Horn day. Hunter Renfrow had a good play. But Jimmy Horns was so impressive. He comes out of his break. It's like a 7-on-7. And he comes out of his break. He gets loose from his guy. Michael Reed tries to catch up to him. And he's fast. But Jimmy's so fast and so shifty that Reed does instinctually exactly what a DB would probably do in that situation and pull on his jersey because, sometimes the flag is better than the big completion. He pulls on his jersey. Even Jimmy getting like locked up, he just adjusted and he dove and he caught the ball as he dove for the sideline. It was an incredible catch. Shocker. That's what he does. Jaycee said today, like, he's a tough guy to cover.
Right.
And I don't even think he's had to cover him that much, but he's a tough guy to cover. You watch him. And he also said something that I thought was interesting, which was Jimmy gets probably a certain reputation because of his size. We're going to sit here and call him shifty and stuff like that. And he's like, he's tough. Like,
right.
He plays a lot tougher than his size is. And and I think we're starting to see that.
And when Jaycee Horn, a man who prides himself on physical play, says, you got to lay hands on this man.
Yeah.
That's kind of that recognition and respect of this kid's doing some interesting things, because when you get JC's attention, it is being done at a certain level. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of stuff. Today was also a super cool day at practice because the Police Activities League was out there. The Little Panthers, we can call them. Those guys were great. It's an 11U football team. Those guys are, it's a fantastic program, giving a lot of kids opportunities to get out and develop themselves. But you could just see the fun they were having, and by they, I mean the big Panthers.
Yeah.
Because if anybody was having more fun on that field than Rob Hunt, watching the Little Panthers play football, I don't know who it was. I mean, you could see kind of the enthusiasm in seeing this scrimmage.
They were having a blast, and there was one point in particular where this one player, number 6, had already made a couple of plays. Well, just due to the defensive alignment they were in, he comes off the field.
Yeah.
The entire Panthers defense starts, no, get 6 on the field, get 6 back on the field. So they put 6 back on the field and had to bring him back out there. They loved that kid.
Yeah. I think 6 might have called his own number because the poor kid that came off the field in that situation looked a little confused by what was going on. But 6 was in the backfield. He was making some plays. He's got that pass rush gene. Mm-hmm. So, the other one that was fun was their running back, a young man named Chase Murray. And Chase gets to the corner, gets into the end zone, and as he's on his way, he's about a step out, and somebody's chasing him, and he
kind of waves.
Gave him a little wave. So he was picking up on the Chuba Hubbard, Jaycee Horn vibe that's been instilled all camp long.
And Chuba had kind of given one of them a piece of advice, too, because there was a run, and he had not really gotten anywhere. And you hear Chuba running back up and down the sideline going, pick up your feet. And next run, he did a little bit better. One of the guys on the team, I don't know if you heard this, one of the receivers on one of them is Rico Dowdle's nephew. So he got to watch his nephew play football today.
Good.
So that's a lot of fun.
Good stuff all the way around. So it was an eventful day. It was, guess what, another rainy day in Charlotte, North Carolina. I swear to I live in a terrarium. It's just been cold and damp, and I'm kind of sick of it.
Today, though, it was that kind of rain where it didn't rain enough to cool it off. It rained enough to add moisture to the air.
That's right.
And it was some kind of muggy. But then they're heading to Houston tomorrow, and Brad Idzik made the comment today. He was like, I hope it's like even hotter. He's like, we need it to be hot so that they can get used to that. And you know what, Brad? You may get your wish.
Brad specifically described the weather as warmer and thicker.
It will be both.
Thicker is not an adjective we should use to describe weather, okay? There are things we can describe as thicker, but not the weather.
There is a certain level that a humidity reaches, though, where it is just, it's like a wet blanket laying on you.
Yeah.
And we may get it. Brad, you may get your wish. But again, Canales has already said this, too. When you're opening week 1 in Jacksonville on September 8th, you need to be ready for the heat.
Yeah, you better be. I mean, and honestly, with the way the last couple of days here have been, it's a good break. I mean, the first week we got extreme heat up in the hundreds for the first week of training camp before we moved into the terrarium for the last week. And it's like I said, I am no fan of inclement conditions. I'm a delicate flower. I like to be comfortable. I've reached that age in my life where I'm not as interested in extreme conditions as I used to be. That's why I bring luggage to work every day, just so I can change clothes and have many layers. But
You're like the lady from White Lotus, where she's like, I don't think at this point in my life I don't think at this age I'm meant to live an uncomfortable life.
I haven't seen that TV show, but that's something I subscribe to. I think that's wisdom is what it is. So anyway, we are going to Houston. Yes. We're going to get on that plane tomorrow, head to Texas. That's right. And we're going to have some fun down in Houston. So no podcast tomorrow necessarily, right. But we are going to come to you Thursday afternoon. We're going to find a spot somewhere in Houston. I don't know exactly where. But we are going to bring you a happy half hour from the scene in Houston. We'll recap the day of joint practice with the Texans. By the way, before we get out of here, did you watch 2015 stories last night?
I didn't
the Panthers
yet.
YouTube
I'm sorry.
channel?
I got really, really enmeshed in a certain announcement coming out from our friend Taylor.
You were waiting on Taylor?
And I was reading all of the clues leading up to it. And then when it finally came out, because Taylor, for as much as she has grown with us over the years, does not seem to realize that her fan base now goes to bed at 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it did come out, I went to bed.
Yeah. Well, Taylor's worth waiting for, right?
Yes.
You're
always
excited
worth
about
waiting
this?
for.
It's always worth
maybe
waiting
I'll
for
watch
Taylor.
2015 stories tonight. That
You
sounds like a
better
good
watch
idea.
it. Panthers YouTube channel, 2015 stories. We've got a docu-series coming out in chapters. The first episode dropped last night, and it was outstanding. It was about the 2015 team and training camp. We see video of Cam Newton and Josh Norman throwing down.
Oh, that'll be worth watching.
Yeah, it is. And you know what else is worth watching?
What?
Hearing Cam Newton talk about that fight to his teammates afterward.
That's cool.
We had Cam mic'd up where he was we heard the audio from it. We heard what he had to say to his teammates after the fact. It was such a unique time. I wrote a really long story about it on Panthers.com earlier this week. I think that was Sunday. Long story, you should check that out too, frankly, because I spent a lot of time on it, and I think it's worth it for you because we do it for the people. A lot of cool stories in there about the way that camp came together. In that story, we really go into detail about not just the Cam Newton-Josh Norman fight, but just how physical those practices were, how much edge those guys played with, and we kind of went in depth on the Kelvin Benjamin injury when basically their star receiver blew out an ACL in training camp and they had to adjust the entire offense on the fly on August 19th when Kelvin went down. It was a shame for Kelvin. That team obviously adjusted. I encourage all of you to check that out. Bookmark the Panthers YouTube page because we got a lot more 2015 content coming. We got J.J. Jansen doing Cart Talks.
Yep.
We've got player roundtables. And, again, more episodes coming of the 2015 Rewind series, all kind of good stuff. So it's not just Taylor you got to wait on. You got to wait on Panthers.com.
We're also announcing exciting stuff on this football podcast.
We're announcing stuff all the time. So check it out, Panthers.com, Panthers YouTube channel. Check out all the stuff, podcast, wherever you get your audio.
Yep.
All the
Spotify, Apple.
All the things. So until we see you again in Houston, that's so long for this episode of the Happy Half Hour, and we're calling this one a podcast with Taylor.